Alright, hi everyone. Good morning. Still morning for me. Chapter 11, Calling on Dragons. Also for Max, thanks you. What? My Gollum now. In which they make an unexpected detour. Of course! Of course. The next morning, much to Morwen's relief, Telemaine appeared to have recovered. Without tiring, he walked briskly to and from the stream to wash up, and his color was nearly normal. After breakfast, he arranged everyone to his satisfaction and muttered the transportation spell. They materialized on a sunny, grass-covered hillside, and as soon as their feet were firmly planted, Telemaine sat down. Telemaine, Morwen said with concern. The magician looked a little gray. I'm all right, Telemaine said. I just need a minute to catch my breath. Killer's long blue ears pricked up. How long a minute? Have I got time for a snack? Because I think I smell a patch of clover off to the left there, and I'm hungry. I don't know what you're complaining about, Kazul said. You had plenty of breakfast. 4 cheese sandwiches aren't much of a meal for a dragon. 5, said Trouble. Don't correct. Also, now I want a cheese sandwich. Pine needles are not very filling, Killer said with dignity. Besides, I want to see what the clover's like outside the Chanted Forest. I may not get the chance again. Flicking a look at Telemaine, Morwen said, Go ahead, Killer. Just don't get out of sight. Killer ambled off, his hooves just grazing the tips of the waving grasses. What a good thing you got him stabilized, Morwen said to Telemaine. Otherwise he'd be walking around Kazul's head by now. It would serve him right, Scorn said, switching her tail. That idiot rabbit is worse than Fiddlesticks. Nobody's worse than Fiddlesticks, said Trouble. Scorn gave him a green glare, then bounded over to Kazul. 2 seconds later, both cats were perched on the dragon's back, basking in the sun. Smiling slightly, Morwen found a sun-warmed rock and sat down. Cimmerian joined her at once, and though Telemaine gave them both a suspicious frown, he did not comment. It's so nice to be able to just sit down without worrying about what you're sitting on, Cimmerian said. In the Enchanted Forest, you have to be careful you don't land on someone who's been transformed into a flower or a rock. That's right. Or sit on something that will transform you into a flower or rock, Telemaine added. He appeared to have his breath back, but he still looked a little pale, so Morwen did not suggest that they continue. The drowsy silence was broken by an ear-splitting bray. Go away, yelled Killer. Morwen said I could eat this, and I'm going to. Leave me alone. No. Morwen looked up. The curve of the hill hid the donkey from sight, along with whatever he was shouting at. Blast that creature, Morwen muttered, getting to her feet. I told him to stay in sight. No, you stay here, Telemaine, she added as the magician started to follow. There's no need to let him inconvenience both of us. Nodding, Telemaine settled back. He must be really tired, or he'd disagree, Morwen thought. Perhaps I can get Kazul or Cimmerian to override his objections to staying here. No, it would be better if Trouble gets conveniently lost for a few hours. I'll have to speak to him as soon as I'm done with Killer. As she came around the hill, she saw a tall, gray-haired man in baggy blue overalls, with a length of rope on one hand and an empty bucket in the other. Standing at the far edge of the clover patch, he stared expressionlessly at Killer and Morwen. This your donkey, ma'am? The man asked. Not exactly, Morwen said. What seems to be the problem? He says I can't eat any more, Killer complained, and I'd only just figured out how to get at it, too. Morwen glanced down. Below Killer's front hooves, a double handspan of grass and clover had been trimmed several inches below the surrounding meadow. So I see. How did you manage it? Well, if I kneel down and stretch way out... Excuse me, ma'am, said the man in blue overalls, setting his bucket at his feet. But if this ain't your donkey, who is it? He doesn't belong to anyone in particular, Morwen said, and he's actually not a donkey. Why? The man in the overalls, who had begun uncoiling the length of rope, paused. Not a donkey, eh? He studied Killer intently for a moment. Blue is kind of an unusual color for a donkey. What's he getting at, Morwen? Killer's ears waggled nervously. Quiet, Killer, Morwen said. And I've got to admit that donkeys don't normally talk much, the man added. So what is he? Enchanted prince? Knight? Circus sideshow performer? Rabbit, Morwen said, judging from his behavior, a permanently hungry rabbit. Huh. The man in the overalls eyed Killer speculatively. A rabbit named Killer. Amazing, the things people come up with. How do you end up a blue donkey? It's a long story, Morwen said. Killer, why don't you go back to the others? But what about the clover? I was just getting started, and it is different. Not so crunchy, not as sweet, and there's sort of a cinnamon undertaste that... Not now, Killer. Go let the others know what's happening. Oh, all right. Muttering sullenly, Killer started back around the hill. What's this about others? Demanded the man in the overalls, as Morwen turned back to him. Who is he? How many of you are there? 7, altogether, Morwen said. There's 7 of you, trampling across my fields and ruining my harvest. The farmer asked, plainly appalled. Not exactly. Killer couldn't trample anything right now if he tried, and the rest of us haven't moved around much. The farmer shook his head. It was bad enough having that donkey or rabbit or whatever eating up my crops, but this, I want the lot of you out right now. Crops. Morwen looked pointedly to the left, then to the right, then raised her chin and started to stare directly at the man in the overalls. Grass and clover? Hay, the man said, unperturbed. Hey, what? Said Simran's voice. God. Morwen, who is this and what's going on? Killer said something about trespassers, but then he got into an argument with their cats, and it's a little hard to follow when you can't understand half of the conversation. This appears to be the man who owns this hill, Morwen said. How long have you all been waiting for me to get to this? This is not. Name of MacDonald, ma'am. Oh my god, I'm gonna start singing the nursery rhyme. This is my farm, and I'd appreciate it if you take your friend and your donkey and your cats elsewhere. I'm Simran, the Queen of the Enchanted Forest, Simran said. Pleased to meet you, Farmer MacDonald. And we'll be leaving just as soon as our magician recovers a bit more. I'm sorry if we caused a problem. Oh no. Oh no. Queen, eh? MacDonald's eyes narrowed speculatively. A little unusual to find a queen out adventuring. Mostly it's princes and younger sons, and once in a while a princess. So, I'm unusual, Simran said. I wasn't criticizing, MacDonald said peaceably. I just wondered if you'd be in the market for some vegetables. Vegetables? Why would I? I got a full line of specialty crops, the farmer went on. My peas are perfectly round and hard as a rock. I sell them by the bag if you want to scatter them on the floor for maidens disguised as huntsmen to walk on, or you can buy one at a time for sticking under the mattress of a visiting princess. I don't think I... Then there's straw, first quality for spinning into gold. I can deliver as much as you want on a regular schedule. I grow 4 kinds of grain, oats, barley, millet, and wheat on the same plants, so it's harvested pre-mixed. I sell it by the bushel to people who want to test someone by making them sort out the different kinds. And beans, naturally. I got the kind that jump and the kind that grow giant stalks. I've got apples, poisoned or gold, in several varieties, extra large pumpkins for turning into coaches, and walnuts with anything you want inside, from a miniature dog to a dress as shining as the stars. He is a fairy tale peddler. He peddles all... This is amazing. I appreciate the offer, Simran said, but I don't think I need any of those things. You wouldn't happen to have any invisible dusk-blooming choke vines, would you, Morwen asked? No, I don't grow ornamentals, MacDonald replied. I stick to vegetables, fruit, and nuts. Farm things. I'm hoping to branch into livestock soon. Simran blinked. What sort of livestock? Oh, little dogs that laughed, winged horses, geese that lay golden eggs, that sort of thing. That's why I'm growing hay. The farmer waved at the hillside. I want to have it on hand when the horses arrive. It's not enchanted hay, is it? Morwen asked with sudden misgiving. Not exactly. Why? Oh, Killer tends to react oddly when he's exposed to new enchantments. Nothing seemed to have happened yet, though. At least Morwen hadn't heard any horrified braying since Killer disappeared over the hill. Perhaps it would be all right. No, it won't. MacDonald shrugged. I use enchanted fertilizer to help it grow, but the hay itself is nothing special. Winged horses eat pretty much the same thing as regular horses, plus a little bird seed. You sound as if you thought about it quite a bit, Simran said. Had to, MacDonald said, nodding. The farm's been running in the family for a long time, but I couldn't make a living running it the way my dad did. Here a horse, there a pig. Oh my god, his dad was old MacDonald. I'm so done with this book. That just doesn't work anymore. He said, here a horse, there a pig. These days, you have to have a plan, so I decided to specialize. Sure you don't need anything? Not right now, Simran said, but I'll keep you in mind. Thanks, farmer. I hesitated. About that blue donkey. He isn't a donkey, Morwen reminded him. He's an enchanted rabbit. Ah, that's right, pity. He'd make an interesting start at the stalking the barnyard. Fingering his rope thoughtfully, MacDonald stared off in the direction Killer had taken. I don't think you'd want him, Simran said. He doesn't seem to be good for much. And he eats a great deal, Morwen added. Most of it unsuitable, inconvenient, or both. Besides, it's time we were leaving. What about my hay? Morwen glanced at the nibbled clover and raised an eyebrow. Killer hardly touched it. In a couple of days you won't be able to tell which part of the patch he got at. Well, then that's settled, Simran said in a tone that somehow reminded everyone that this was the Queen of the Enchanted Forest talking, and if she said it was settled, then it had better be settled. It's been nice meeting you, Mr. MacDonald, and I shall certainly mention your special crops to my friends. Now we really must be going. She turned and swept off. Nodding a brisk farewell to MacDonald, Morwen followed. Halfway around the hill, she glanced back and saw MacDonald frowning uncertainly after them. At least he isn't chasing after us, she thought. Goodness knows how he'd react if he saw Kazul. The same thought had apparently occurred to Simmering. We need to leave right away if we can, she said as soon as they reached the others. Can you manage it, Telemaine? Of course, the magician said, but what's the problem? Nothing dangerous, but if we stay, we're likely to waste the whole afternoon arguing. I'll explain later. Wait a minute, Morwen said as Telemaine climbed to his feet. Where's Scorn? She went after you, Trouble said. Bothers, Morwen. I'm sorry, Simmering, but an arrow path of grass stirred and shifted. An instant later, Scorn leapt for Morwen's back. Her claws dug into the folds of material, and with another brief effort she pulled herself the rest of the way up to Morwen's shoulder, where she perched, purring smugly. No wonder you wear loose robes, Simmering said. Balancing carefully, Scorn stretched. Then the purring stopped, and she said, The farmer's coming after you, Morwen. I thought you'd want to know. Scorn says MacDonald's on his way, Morwen said to the rest of them. If you really want to avoid him, Simmering, we should go now. Then let's go, Simmering looked at Telemaine. Everyone here? Very well, then. Eyes narrowed in unwanted concentration. Telemaine raised his hand and recited a spell. The hillside wavered, like a reflection in a suddenly disturbed pool, reluctantly began to melt and shift. Morwen caught a glimpse of MacDonald's face, too distorted, to tell whether his expression was one of astonishment or fear before the scent became unrecognizable. The scene, I'm sorry, that doesn't say scent. Suddenly, everything froze. For an impossibly long instant, they hung between greenish blurs and brown blobs. Then, with a painful jerk, oh no, everything darkened and slammed into proper shapes once more. Morwen dropped 2 inches into a puddle of mud. The landing jarred her glasses loose and tore Scorn from her shoulder. Morwen managed to catch the cap, but her glasses vanished into the mud. Behind them there was a squishy thump as Kazul landed, followed by a growl from Trouble and various startled noises from Killer and Simmering. Drat! Morwen muttered, swallowing hard. I knew I should have brought a stomach remedy. The air was damp and smelled like rotten eggs, which didn't help any. Where did they go? Where did he transport them? And boots, Scorn said, relaxing in Morwen's hands. Definitely boots, Morwen agreed. The mud was cold, soft, and ankle-deep, and between the gloom and her missing glasses, she could not spot a better place to step to. Assuming, of course, there was a better place to stand. Morwen, Simmering called, where are you? Where are we, is the question, Scorn said. Quiet, said Morwen. Over here, Simmering. Scorn, I'm going to hunt for my glasses, and I'll need both hands. If you don't want to walk around in this, you better climb up on my back. With a disdainful snort, Scorn scrambled out of Morwen's grasp and back to her shoulder. Slowly, Morwen bent forward, giving Scorn time to adjust her balance. Holding her sleeves out of the way with one hand, she fished in the mud with the other. A series of sucky noises and squelches came near. Morwen, what are you doing? Simmering asked. She was muddy to the elbows, and she held her drawn sword in one hand. Looking for my glasses, Morwen replied. Unfortunately, I don't seem to... Wait a minute. Carefully, she worked her hand free of the mud. There. Now all I have to do is clean them. Easier to say than do in this muck, Simmering said. Didn't you bring an extra pair? Chaos broke my extra pair last week. Morwen squinted at the mud-covered glasses, then shrugged. Pinching a fold of material from a robe, she began wiping the lenses. The replacements haven't been delivered yet. Wait, who does... I don't even want to know. Well, I'm afraid I can't help. I slipped when we landed, and even my handkerchiefs are full of mud. Morwen, where are we? This doesn't look like the edge of a desert. No kidding, said Scorn. Ask Telemaine, Morwen said. Why hasn't he said anything, for the record? Or Kazul? He should have some idea where we are when we lost control. The lenses were still streaky, but at least she could see. A worry line appeared between Simmering's eyebrows, below the mud that smeared her forehead. I don't know where Telemaine is, she said. I was hoping he was over here with you. What just happened? Oh no. Well, at least I get to read and find out. But it could be chapters before I find out. Anyway,